welcome to this channel. Alexandra again with another video, and Maya walking past, barking as she does, which is fine. So today I wanted to speak about canine family planning, or should you add another dog to your existing dog, or should you add another dog to your two existing dogs, or however big you want to build your pack. I believe just like human family planning, canine family planning needs time, awareness, and a lot of research. And having a chat with fellow dog lovers isn't hurting either. I would recommend look for the big force free training groups that are on the internet. There is one called the Positive Force Free R Plus Training Library. If I get the title right, I'm sorry if I butcher the title, but it's a very big group. I think 50,000-60,000 members by now. Then there's Linda Michaels' excellent Do No Harm Dog Training Group. I'm in both, and I'm finding very, very high value and information in both, lots of free resources, and people are very open to giving you feedback. If you have a question, like I as a crossover trainer always have questions, I post them there, and people will give their experiences, which is extremely valuable. So go to these groups also and ask your questions. Say, oh, I got this set of dogs, maybe add a nice picture of them so people have an understanding what your set of dogs is like. And there's so many dog trainers, force-free trainers in this group, and certified behaviorists who, with their wealth of experience, will be able to give you an informed advice about what their thoughts, their experiences with that type of dog you might have, how well they generally mesh with other dogs or don't. And a lot of it is based on breed, but also a lot of it is based on temperament of the individual dog. So I would generally say if you have a dog that is of the more mellow type, like a pack dog, I have beagles for that reason. One of the reasons why I chose the beagle breed, because they are traditionally, historically, and therefore also genetically predisposed to hunting in packs, so to cooperating with other dogs and work together with other dogs. They are quite good in that, and usually you don't run into too big problems with beagles. They might have a spat, they might, well, if they play, when they play, they always play. but if they play with each other initially, say you bring an adult beagle in, or even if you bring a puppy beagle in, and those dogs have a go at playing first, you might think they're gonna destroy each other, but it's just how they play. The same if you got two Australian shepherds or border collies and you watch them play, it's like, oh my god, they're gonna get, someone's gonna get injured here, but usually no. It's their style of play is very rambunctious, very fast. It's like seeing squirrels play. If you have slower dogs like mastiffs, everything is at a different pace. Like Maya here, she is chill until something pops up at the fence, and then she can go from 0 to 100 in a second, really. Yeah, so it's just another thing. But also her kind, Maya's kind, livestock guardian breed, in her case an Estrela mountain dog, native to Portugal, which we have here, we are in Portugal. They are traditionally bred to guard sheep, goat herds, sometimes cattle, quite often cattle, but sometimes even horses, on people's properties, and historically on the mountains. They've been left with the animals overnight, so the shepherd would go home, and the dogs, a pack of dogs, because to defend against wolves you have to have numbers, 3 to 5 dogs usually for a medium to larger sized herd, might be even more. For a smaller herd you might have just a pair or 3. I would say 2-3 dogs you need to effectively set up a defense against predators. So these dogs are also used to cooperate with other dogs in their pack. They are not fond, usually by design, of other canines that come to the property. This is not a good thing to test in terms of, oh, just take my livestock guardian to the dog park, let them off the leash, unless they've been extremely well socialized and they're genuinely like other dogs. But quite often you see a defensive aggression displayed, when another dog comes close to your livestock guardian and they don't know that dog. Maya here, my girl, still does that. She is still reactive to dogs she does not know. The ones she does know can do everything. They can snap at her face, they can hump her or whatever. She's completely fine. But the ones she doesn't know, she puts in that category a potential threat to herself or to the beagles or to me. I'm not sure what if I'm not sure. You can't tell 100% of cases if your dog is currently trying to defend themselves, if they're being reactive, or if they're trying to defend you, or if they're trying to defend the other dogs. But what I can say is, if you have a 2-dog household or multiple dog household and you walk the dogs together, this dynamic of being reactive potentially to another dog or another animal coming close by, or maybe even another human they don't know coming close, is amplified. So the group instinct, I would say pack instinct, but isn't it again a controversial term? Whatever, I just say pack instinct for now, for clarity's sake, comes in as soon as you have more than one dog, and the reaction can be not just double as severe, but it can be multiplied. It's really, I've seen dogs that are perfectly fine alone. When they meet another dog, as soon as you bring their buddy with them and that buddy is doing as much as growl at the other dog, both will have a go at that other dog. And if that other dog comes close, chances are there might be even an injury. There would be at least a very distinct beating up on that dog by the dogs you have on leash. So that's another thing. Why, ask yourself, if you feel you want another dog, why do you want another dog? Is it because you feel your dog is lonely? Is it because you feel you want the gratification of raising another puppy? Is it maybe your kids saying, wouldn't a puppy be cute? Or your spouse saying, oh, there's this sweet dog at the shelter and we have to save it, we don't want it to be put down. Look on Facebook, there's now this initiative to save these dogs, and shouldn't we help? And not saying that's not a very valid cause to get a dog, but if your existing dog genuinely does not like other dogs, you're not doing anyone a favor, not even the dog you're rescuing, because now you're bringing a dog that's probably traumatized already to a point, because even just being in a shelter, being locked in this horrifically loud and chaotic setting into a shelter environment is going to be stressful, it's going to be traumatic. So you bring a traumatized animal into your home to your dog who does not enjoy other dogs, and you just hope things work out. And I tell you from experience of many years as a consultant, both on my own and in big dog training businesses, it often does not work out. And I can't even tell you how often I had to just be honest to people and say, I cannot help you with this because I'm I'm not with you in that house. You need to hire a local professional behaviorist who can come in and evaluate the situation, set up a protocol of behavior modification, if you will, for both dogs, and then hope it'll work. But let me also tell you, there are dogs, and I can only say this anecdotally, I don't know if scientific studies done on this, but there are dogs who are just not fond of other dogs. I owned one of those actually, funnily enough, a dog who would get along with everyone else, every other dog outside the home, but as soon as you brought another dog in the home, oh my god, just totally different story. And this just never really is a good idea, right? But sometimes you just don't know. You bring in a puppy, you think everything will work out fine, and next thing you know, you have the older dog attack that puppy. So then what do you do, right? Do you then keep them separate for the rest of their lives? But how is that fair to either of them? It's creating lots of stress, creating stress on you. God forbid someone leaves the crate door open, or someone opens the garden door and both dogs are out fighting each other now. So that's not ideal either. So what I always tell people, if you want more than one dog and you have a dog that's fine with other dogs, have a behaviorist come in and evaluate your dog if you are uncertain. Also have that some of that evaluation happen in your home, because like I just said, things can be very different. Your dog may be fine in the home with other dogs but not outside, or just outside but not in the home. Usually if it's the latter, if it's a former, if they're fine in the home with other friendly dogs coming in one at a time, obviously. Say a friend brings their dog to test your dog's reaction and they're perfectly fine, then another friend does the same, then maybe a trainer brings their team of dogs. So you have a dog that's completely happy with having others in their space. That's a good sign, because even if they don't like other dogs on walks, these other dogs on walks are not going to come in your house and live with you all day long 24/7, right? So it doesn't matter that much, in my opinion. So if you have that situation, you have a dog or even two dogs that are a well-established team, they're obedient, they're well-trained, they're easy to live with, you've done all these steps, you have two very pleasant dogs, and you want to add a third one, same criteria apply. Do they like others of their kind in their home, outside? How do they respond? Are they open to receiving like a visitor with their dog into their space? Safety always first, of course, because the least you want is your two dogs pouncing on a visitor's dog, trying to chase them off the territory. So go gradual, go slow, use baby gates as separators, use gates like garden gates, fences to keep them apart initially to see how everyone's reacting. Maybe do the introduction but first. That sounds horrible, but if you take the dog, say of a visitor, maybe they have, let's say they have a beagle, look, sake of easiness, take that beagle or ask them to take that beagle and put it so the rear end of that beagle is facing your dog's nose through the fence. This works wonders, especially if you have a dog that's slightly nervous or shy, anxious, reactive, because they know instinctively that rear ends don't have teeth. So they can smell the other dog in peace, get familiar with their scent, get information on their gender, their age, their health status, what they recently eaten, and so far, and further they can determine quite a lot through scent, right? So that's how I introduced my new dogs to my Mastiff. Yeah, so we started off with having having three dogs 2 years ago, right? So we brought in Mikey, the beagle puppy, our male beagle, and the way we introduced him to the German Shepherd we had back then, she died of a terminal sickness, unfortunately, DM, degenerative myelopathy, quite common in German Shepherds, unfortunately, especially if breeders don't do genetic testing, which was the case in that case. She was a rescue. But anyway, so with the German Shepherd and our Beagle Strela, the way we introduced the beagle puppy was by having one dog be there at a time, having the puppy in our care, in our personal space on our lap, or my lap in that case. First letting the German Shepherd approach, because I already knew her so well. She was fine with puppies. She had raised the big fluffy dog I got, so she knows how to be gentle with puppies. I knew that, so I got them introduced first, and I took her out again. I got the big Mastiff in and presented myself with that puppy, and I had not much of an idea how she would respond, because she's extremely sensitive and extremely bonded to me. So that was a bit of a wild card. I knew that she would, once she trusted a dog, that she would take all the abuse that dog of the little village dogs would give her, like they sometimes hang from her neck because they just go grip these vicious little buggers. But Maya she's completely safe around them, because once she likes them, she trusts them, she just thinks it's play, she thinks it's hilarious, and she takes it in stride. So I knew if I could get her over that hump, it would work. The puppy would be safe. It still would monitor, watch her like a hawk, because she's big and clumsy, and she could injure little beagle puppies like the size of Chihuahua when they come at 8 weeks old very easily. So I was very cautious. I had the puppy right here in my lap. I had Maya approach me, my husband let her in, and the reaction was completely different, and it would have shocked not just me but a lot of people, I think. So what you had was Maya not showing any sign of reaction in terms of being aggressive, but she started having a major meltdown. She would drool like crazy, she would pant anxiously, she'd just be so disturbed. I never seen her like that before, only when we did car journeys, because she has the same with cars. She's just never gotten, even with medication, anti-sickness medication, she never got across fearing car rides very badly, to the point she's still drooling, the medication just stopping her from vomiting up bile. Sorry, it's a disgusting description, but it's also what some of you guys are dealing with your dogs, that are dogs like this. I don't know how to cure this kind of car sickness / anxiety, because we tried so much. So that's a case where I just have to say, look, I'll just minimize car trips for her, for emergency vet visits, and that's it. That seems to be, given her history with our measures of trying to counter condition, the kindest thing. But back to the introduction. So Maya was totally upset. She was having that meltdown. I would then stop the exposure because I just saw she was out of sorts. So we took her from the room. We moved her back into another room to let her come to peace a bit and get used to the scent of the puppy. Then that same day and early the next day, whilst the puppy was settling in and we were helping little Mikey to learn his new life, basically, Maya was still majorly upset. She would not come near me. Not even me. She loves me very much. I mean, every dog loves their owner, but Maya is just extremely bonded to me. I had her since she was like 6 weeks old, because she had to be removed from her mother. Her mother developed a emergency medical condition, and the breeder asked us, the future owners, would you be able to take them already? Would you have the time to nourish them, keep them warm, keep them fed, keep them nurtured, because they're so young still. That really should have been with the mother. But yeah, so I decided, and the other owners decided, okay, rather than it just being the litter mates without the mother, let's take them home and integrate them in the family. So that's why Maya is so bonded to me, is my theory. So anyway, what to do? Maya's totally confused and anxious and panicky. The puppy's doing fine meanwhile. He was polite, showing submissive behaviors that puppies would do, just being very polite, respecting her space, keeping his distance, just smelling her from the distance. So I would try to go near Maya to give her food, and she would retreat from me, and she'd never ever done that before, not even as a puppy when she didn't even know me yet. But she retreated from me after smelling the air. So she would smell from a distance, from a meter or so away. She'd smell the food, she'd smell me, and she'd detect puppy scent on the food and me, because my hands had gripped the food bowl, right? And she'd withdraw, just walk back. If she was a human, she'd be shaking her head like, no, thank you, you smell of it, and I want nothing to do with that smell. So that took me totally off guard. So I mean, I had to put her food down, leave her to it. She wouldn't eat whilst I was having my puppy's stinking hands on it, in her mind, right? It's heartbreaking to see that. The next morning continued a little bit like this, and then what did break the ice finally was the puppy itself. So once again, I kneel down with the puppy in the doggy playroom. I have the puppy on my lap. I have the big floofy girl finally come approach me a little bit more, and I made everything around the puppy very happy, with a high-pitched voice, saying, oh my god, it's so amazing, look at the puppy, oh my goodness. It's just really sounding ridiculous, but like to excite her, to communicate with my body language and vocalizations that it's such a happy occasion, there's nothing to be upset about, and that she's always welcome to be in my my bubble with the puppy because she wants to be near me most of the time, Maya, unless she's out there supervising what the neighbors do or what the whole valley is doing and barking. So I tried to show her that she was always welcome near me and that the puppy equaled fun, and eventually she came close, and that's the moment where it happened. She put her long snout down to sniff the air near the puppy, and that puppy reached up with its little snout. It's the cutest thing ever, you guys. I wish you all would have been there. The puppy reached up with its little snout and gave the big nose of Maya a lick, a nose lick, and just kept licking and licking. And then withdrawing and like settling back down on my lap, just looking. And Maya changed, like totally 180-degree change, just like flip a light switch. Maya pretty much instantly then started licking and sniffing the puppy, licking the puppy's face, and then she went around the room and licked all of the puppy's toys to get that, because in their tongue dogs have this like sensory detector. It's like connected to the sense of scent, I learned recently. And licking a scent, licking an object, an object that has a specific scent makes them able to absorb that scent and discern it and like understand it even better than just smelling it. So she was licking everything in what looked almost compulsively, and then suddenly she was happy with the puppy. Next thing she did is I put the puppy down in front of me, still guarded, but put him on the floor, and Maya started bringing him toys and started playing with him. And then next thing you know is we all playing with the puppy, the German Shepherd, Maya, me, the husband, we all on the floor playing with the puppy, and the ice was broken, and since then there's never an issue again. So I'm going to wrap this video up again. It's getting long. I try my best, you guys, going into these videos to keep them short. It's a journey, it's an evolution, so I vow to do better in the future. But for now, to highlight what I want to give you on your way in terms of canine family planning. So look at a breed that is known to be mellow with other dogs, like a pack hound, sight hound or scent hound, a retriever, not necessarily all retrievers either, flat-coated retrievers and Chesapeake Bay retrievers can be quite assertive also with other dogs. But if you have your standard golden retriever, your Labrador retriever, those are usually quite fine with other dogs, exceptionally so, especially Goldens, because also historically they've been bred to cooperate or at least coexist with other hunting dogs. So hunters would go out in a group and each has their dogs, and the retrievers would have to not get into fights, or it jeopardizes the whole enterprise, because dogs fighting or going at each other are loud, and when you're trying to hunt anything pretty much, specifically birds, as retrievers are border retrieval dogs for game birds. When you hunt birds, the last thing you want is noise, so you need dogs that can quietly cooperate, peacefully cooperate, coexist, walk alongside, lie next to other dogs that sometimes are complete strangers to them. So yeah, if you want more than one dog, or maybe even more than two dogs, if you can build your team out of pack-friendly breeds like these, the retrievers, the hounds, not the terriers. I wouldn't ever recommend terriers to be kept in multiples. I know people who very successfully do this, but these are highly experienced dog owners. One of my own teammates has 3 Jack Russells and is doing fantastic with them, but he's also put a ton time training them. So it's possible, but it comes with its challenges for sure. I would say personally, the kind of dog breeds, dog types I would never want to pair up just to, in the interest of keeping everyone safe, is the big mastiffs that are not of the livestock guardian type. So your Bordeaux mastiffs, Dogue de Bordeaux, your Cane Corso, your Bourbel, Dogo Argentino, any breed that has any history in dog fighting or even in being a catch dog, like for wild hogs, for instance, like the Corso is, the Presa Canario is, the Dogo Argentino is. I would not, the American Pit Bull Terrier, classical catch dog, or even the Alano Español, the Spanish Bulldog. I would not want to have one of these dogs as part of my pack, just because if some scuffle erupts, it can escalate super quickly from just blah 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 blah. Like usually you see dogs on the street, normally no bites happen in such a scuffle. If you have one of those dogs, very quickly you could lose one of your other dogs, because it escalates quickly into a case where the dog grips hold of that other dog, often by the throat or the face, and then you will have an extremely hard time stepping in and without getting bitten yourself, prying that dog off of your other dog. And even if you succeed, what then? What are you gonna do for going forward, you know? I've heard this issue from people who own bulldogs, even French bulldogs. I mean, a single dog-friendly French bulldog paired with an opposite sex other dog is usually fine. But if you try to build a group of, say, Old English bulldogs, or even English bulldogs, or French bulldogs, or the bigger, more powerful variations, American bulldogs, or Alapaha blue blood bulldogs, yeah, you know, things can get completely out of hand. Dogs can end up in surgery tables, and not just one either, because of two of, like the saying goes, if two tigers get into a fight, they both get maimed really badly. That's not how the saying goes, and I forgot how the saying exactly goes, but you get the idea. I think there's no winner who goes unscathed out of a dog fight between pit bull type breeds. Amstaff goes into that too, American Staffordshire Terrier, also the very popular Staffordshire Bull Terrier of England, the Staffy. You don't want conflicts between multiple Staffies or Amstaffs or Pit Bulls or Bourbels, or just imagine you'd need to have a cattle prod, a brake stick, bear spray or whatnot. The XL American Bullies are also classical examples. Things can really go ugly really fast, and how you safely break up a fight and how you safely continue having these dogs in the same home. It's a risk factor, especially if that home has kids as well, or if you often receive family coming over with kids. You need to be ever so vigilant if you have these dogs and they are prone into getting into fights with one another, because if someone gets in the way, and this has happened historically, I mean, do your research, it's been in the news, numerous cases of this, where people got in between, tried to get, either by accident or by design, try to break up fights between XL American Bullies or Cane Corsos, in a case in Canada last year, I believe, or earlier this year, and then the person gets unalived, very tragically, because of the dogs turning on them in a moment of blind rage. So dogs that fight actively are in a state of over-arousal or hyper-arousal, some refer to it, and it's basically an imbalance in the brain, a hormonal imbalance, which makes the dogs not be able to think clearly or recognize verbal commands, recognize requests to leave it, to stop from their owner, sometimes not even able to recognize who is trying to get in between, that it is in fact their beloved owner. They just can't process that information, so they'll turn around and both aggress the intruder, and that can end very badly. So there's many risks in pairing up dogs, grouping up dogs that are not, I would say, not designed to coexist peacefully with other dogs. Yeah. So for me personally, I'm all for having for having 4 dogs one day. I want to have this experience, but also with a different like property, like moving into property with even more land, I would say double or triple size of land, so dogs can really have an amazing run and play all day outside and stretch their legs, and you know, there'll be less time even in the bad weather to be caught up inside, because if you have like a medium plot of land like we do, you also want to be careful not to let dogs use it too much, if you will, whilst it's muddy and soaky, otherwise they just rip out the vegetation. But if you have much more land, of course, the opportunities become yeah, open up. So one day I want to have 4 dogs. I personally plan to add a golden retriever puppy to the family as the next dog that I would add. I mean, right now we have Mikey, the 2-year-old beagle, male, unneutered male. We have Maya, 4-year-old spayed Estrella mountain dog, and we have Brianna, who is a 8-year-old spayed beagle female. So 2 females, 1 male, and what I would add is another male golden retriever. And why a male? Wouldn't I be afraid that he might get in rivalry with Mikey, being also male and being also unneutered? Because I do not believe that, based on my research and what my own vet is telling me, I do not believe that neutering a completely fine, healthy male dog is a good idea. Not good for their long-term health. So I don't do it. So am I afraid of conflict male on male? No, and I tell you why. Because I know my boy Mikey. I know that he had an episode where he grew quite aggressive and nipped a loose hunting dog that came running up to him to hump Brianna, his female. So that was probably what triggered the aggression, the possession over the female. So another competitor comes in, humps the female, gets driven off. Meanwhile, however, Mikey is getting along perfectly even with that very dog. Whenever I walk him alone, it's not a problem at all, and from this I think it will not be a problem adding a male dog to him, especially if that male dog is personality-wise a docile, biddable dog. I will talk to the breeder, whom I know is a good friend of ours. I will talk to him and ask him when the time comes to select me a calm, friendly, especially low-key, if you will, biddable golden retriever puppy. I don't want, like people call the alpha dogs, because that could clash with Mikey, the little beagle boy. Mikey's extremely confident. I would class him as an alpha if you believe in the Caesar Milanish style of alpha, beta, omega dog, like front of the pack, middle of the pack, bottom of the pack. From their base temperament, Mikey is definitely an alpha, and so is Maya. So I have an alpha pair, which is not making training these dogs in all situations easier at all. They're quite self-assured and overconfident sometimes. So I would want to add a docile individual who's happy to take, the rear position in the group, if you will, and just let the others have a say in who gets barked in or with which toys we play and so forth. And yeah, I am confident this will work out well. I mean, that's also why, my big dream is also, and I can you guys, my audience, should know about this, because one day it'll happen sooner or later. I want to add Suffolk sheep to the family once we have a bigger place that we can build a good stable for them and have grazing land and so forth. And for that I first thought, well, I need a border collie, right? But then, in my opinion, from what I also hear from many others and what I see on social media, what I see even locally with people who have them and other dogs, it's not always a given that a border collie won't clash because of their high drive nature and their tendency to be quite nippy and rough in their play. I think there might be potential for such a dog to clash with one of my existing dogs, especially here the alphas, Mikey the beagle, Maya the Estrella. So if I get a sheep dog specifically to help me with the sheep, I would probably first off try and condition the golden retriever puppy to do some basic helping with that, because there are people like watch documentary TV. There's an episode where a lady breeding boxers has turned several of her boxers to herding dogs. I mean, trial competition level, right? They won several championships, boxer dogs. So why wouldn't that work with a golden retriever if all I need is that dog to run in a certain way around the sheep both ways? And I've trained that into my old German Shepherd when we were helping a neighbor look after their sheep, and it's worked perfectly. She really caught on to that fine, and she didn't even need to be as forceful as she was. I think that's my theory. I never owned sheep myself. I worked with sheep and goat, but I haven't owned. So my theory is any dog that would have the volition to work with me and to do uh, the set of commands that they have in herding should work. If they don't, I would more look into a white Swiss Shepherd or Swiss White Shepherd. I don't know, I just know the German word for the breed. But we have an amazing breeder of those with dogs with nice straight backs, so not the slopy backs that the showline German Shepherds have. But just stunning dogs. I'm in very friendly contact with the breeders. So if I wanted a dog that's more towards herding, or maybe the dual purpose herding and guarding as Maya gets older, I would probably get that rather than a border collie right now, just for the harmony of the pack, of the canine part of the family. Yeah, so we'll see where this all leads us, but for now, enough said in this video. Thank you so much for those of you still watching, and I will try to speak about these matters in a briefer video going forward. I'm still learning very much how to create content. I'm all into these shorts at the moment. They very quickly grow a channel and they're fun to make. They're fun to just film a short reel, 30 seconds, even just 10 seconds, slap some nice music on it, put some nice effects and filters on, put it up there and get like my latest one. It wasn't even done so well, it was very shaky, but horses running on the main road out there got 3,500 views overnight, and for me that's, I'm getting all giddy seeing that. These longer form videos usually don't do that good on YouTube because it takes people, I suppose, too much time to watch them, and I'm conscious of that, so I want to make them shorter. But at the same time, I also want to give longer content like this video and the previous one, because I also want to cater to people who want to dive deeper into these understandings, or maybe going forward I'm planning to apply to be on other dog trainers' podcasts, and I would like to give them some glimpse, more detailed glimpse into what I'm all about, where I come from, what kind of dogs I have, what is my philosophy on training behavior, living with dogs, living with multiple dogs, so if I wanted to have someone, say if someone sent me an application to be on podcast with me, I would want to know as much about them as possible, because once you show up on podcast with a person in public, suddenly your names are associated, and you want to make sure, especially if you already got a brand that's well known out there in the dog training world, you want to make sure that you're liaising with a person that's totally, hopefully aligned with your main code of ethics as it relates to dog training and otherwise, And I almost went to a podcast with a gentleman. I did turn it down on the last minute, and I normally don't do that. I normally am quite transparent beforehand if I smell that there's an issue. But in this case, I was deep diving into the gentleman's materials or in his views about dog training, his kind of the contents of his YouTube channel, and what he was mentioning there, saying there, doing there, the style in which he was doing, just upon taking a very close look and having a deep thought about it, I had to say, you know what, honestly, I cannot do this because we are not on the same page with many things, ethics being one of them, because I'm not standing behind like smear campaigns against other popular dog trainers just for the sake of it. I mean, if it adds information to call out a trainer who is negating scientific consensus and ethical dog training, and it brings information to the public that is good they know, then yeah, maybe making one or two videos is illuminating. But to just keep on going and going and going against well-known people in a manner that I perceive as unethical, I didn't want my good name to be associated with that at all. So I stopped the collaboration. I explained exactly also why. So we had a long call about this, and I also turned a book project down. I mean, I'm a professional book writer. I've written 6 books and been the co-editor of another one. So if you go on Amazon, type in my name, you'll see 3 books pop up in my name. One because I was a co-editor, Red Elk's book, and 2 books of my own. I've also written Will Atherton's, as a ghostwriter, Will Atherton's puppy book, Raising Perfect Puppies. You can find it on Amazon. I've written 2 books for Garrett Wing in my time with him, which he hasn't published yet to my knowledge. He might incorporate them in one of his courses, Train the Trainers course that he's creating. But yeah, altogether 6 books. So as a professional writer, I had lined up this writing project with this gentleman, and again, because of my ethical concerns, I didn't want to be associated, so I withdrew from that as well. So okay, no podcast, no writing project, don't want to be associated. And that was with someone whom I had a couple of calls with before and thought I had a good understanding. But what also happened is that I moved on from a certain understanding of dog training. The more I listened to Zach George in particular, simply because he's the most unspoken one in the field, and it just resonated with me. So the more I listened and researched myself and looked up what scientific consensus actually is saying, it was like, okay, I can't associate with someone who just blatantly negates that, because once information is out there on the internet of me sitting down and podcast with someone or collaborating on a book with someone, I permanently associated with that person, even if I then post other content, say, oh yeah, now I don't advocate for that anymore. It's tricky, right? So I think these videos are my attempt to give a deeper glimpse into what I'm all about, what my views are, and might only ever get watched by a few people, and I hope whoever is wanting to do a podcast with me in the future will watch them, or at least one of them. But yeah, for the sake of brevity and ease to watch and just get the message without the big talking around it, I will aim in the future to make a series of, or unlimited, I mean, however long I feel it's useful for you guys to receive the videos. I will continue to make short videos, planning between 5, 10 to maximum 15 minutes, speaking about the most common dog training issues like leash pulling, counter surfing, stealing objects around the house, digging holes in the garden, lunging at other dogs on walks, barking excessively, destructive chewing, not being obedient, not recalling, not staying in place, hating the crate, separation anxiety. There's all this long list of things that I can talk about, but I promise you guys I'll make an effort to do that in shorter format. So any one of you who has hung out with me until this point, thank you so very much. Please like, share and subscribe, and talk to you soon. Love you all. Bye.